Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of CSGO Scores on News. Today is June 22nd. Let's get right into the scores. First, we have the PGL 2016 Summer Tournament. We had both groups and the semifinals today. Starting off in Group A, we have Team X, VG Cyberzone, 5 Esports Club, and Energy Peacemaker. First game was VG CZ against Energy Peacemaker, and VG won 16-2. Next game was Team X versus 5E. X won 16-9. Next game was Energy Peacemaker versus Team X, and Team X dominated and won 16-0. VGCZ played 5E next, and VGCZ won 16-6. Next game was Team X versus VGCZ, and Team X won 16-10. The final game of the group was 5E versus EP, and they tied 15-15, making the two top teams in the group Team X versus VG Cyberzone. And in Group B, it was Epsilon Esports, Tyloo, Born of Fire, and eFuture. First game was Tyler versus Epsilon, and Epsilon won 16-11. Next game was BOF versus eFuture, and BOF won 16-6. Next game was Epsilon versus BOF, and Epsilon won 16-13. Next game was eFuture versus Tyloo, and they tied 15-15. Next was Epsilon versus eFuture, and Epsilon won 16-5. And the final game was Tyloo versus BOF, and Tyloo won 16-8, making Tyloo and Epsilon Esports the top two teams in the group, passing them to the semifinals along with Team X and VG Cyberzone. And in the semifinals, it was Team X versus Tyloo, and Epsilon Esports versus VG Cyberzone. Both semifinal games were best of 3. First map was Mirage, and Team X won 16-10. Next map was Train, and Team X won again 16-9 over Tyloo, advancing them to the finals. And the next semifinal game was Epsilon Esports versus VG Cyberzone. First map was Cash, and Epsilon won 16-4. The next map was Nuke, and VG CZ won 16-7. And the final map was Nuke, and Epsilon won 16-8, advancing them to the finals against Team X. The third place match and the final game will both be tomorrow, so stay tuned for that information. Next up in scores, we have the ELeague Day 2 quarterfinals. First game was Astralis versus Mouse Sports, best of 3. The first map was Mirage, and Mouse Sports dominated and won 16-2. And the next map was Dust 2, and Mouse won again 16-12, putting them on in the semifinals. In the final quarterfinal game for ELeague is Virtus Pro versus NIP. They are playing right now, and VP is winning 5-0 on Dust 2. Next map is Cobblestone, next start is Train, and we're going to cut to right at the final, so cut. Alright, so the game is done, and VP won the first map on Dust 2, 16-8, and the next map on Cobblestone, 16-9, advancing them to the semifinals to face off against Mouse Sports. Now the final 4 teams, which will be competing in the Cobb Energy Performing Arts Center in Atlanta, Georgia, are going to be Fnatic, Na'Vi, Mouse Sports, and Virtus Pro. And next for scores, we have the semifinals of the World Championships 2016 South American Qualifier. Final 4 teams are Brazil, Chile, Argentina, and Peru. First semifinal game was Brazil versus Chile, best of 3. First map was Dust 2, and Brazil won 16-6, and the next map was Cobblestone, and Brazil won again 16-8, advancing them to the finals. And next game is Argentina versus Peru. Argentina won the first map 16-10 on Nuke, and Peru won on Mirage 16-9, and Train, the final map, is actually playing right now. So once again, there's going to be a cut right now to who won this game. Alright, so the third map has been played, and Argentina actually won 16-7 on Cash, advancing them to the finals to face off against Brazil to see who will qualify for the World Championships 2016. And now on to news. The first thing is that Virtus Pro have been invited to IEM Oakland, and they will be joining Team Liquid and SK Gaming. We also have the format for the Star Ladder Season 15 Finals. 8 of the 16 teams that have already made it to the tournament are Astralis, Fnatic, G2 Esports, Team Liquid, Na'Vi, NIP, SK Gaming, and Virtus Pro. And the groups are going to be Fnatic Astralis, plus an EU qualifier and NA qualifier. Group B is G2 and SK, plus an EU qualifier and a China qualifier. Group C is Na'Vi, Virtus Pro, plus an EU qualifier and a China qualifier. And the final group is Liquid and an NIP, plus an NA qualifier and a China qualifier. And Star Ladder Season 15 Finals are going to have a $300,000 prize pool, and are spread among like this. 13th to 16th each get $3,000. 9th to 12th each get $4,500. 5th to 8th gets $10,000. 3rd, 4th gets $25,000. Second place gets $50,000, and first place gets $150,000. And the final news story we have today is that Immortals have released Showtime and signed the former SK Gaming coach, Zeus. And Fallen of SK Gaming tweeted out, "We don't plan to add a new coach. Dead will assume more out-game functions as Zeus left. Keep going forward, SK. Hashtag Vamos SK." And now Zeus is also going to be the new in-game leader of Immortals. And today is the first time in a while that we actually have a long episode with scores and news in the same day, which hasn't happened in a while. So that's good. I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode of CSGO Scores and News, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.